What's up, everyone? Thomas here with ForReel, and I am so excited this year to be covering the Seattle International Film Festival in person. The past couple years have been kind of rough for in-person experiences, but it's finally time to be back in person here in Seattle, and I am very much looking forward to being able to attend once again in person and have a great time with really awesome people like the guest that I have on the phone right now. And I'm joined today by Taylor Baker from Drinking the Movies in Seattle. Taylor, welcome.
Thanks for having me. I didn't know I was on a phone, but I'm happy to be here.
This is phone, video call. Like, look, I'm
Zoom, laptop, whatever.
I'm ancient, okay? I use archaic forms of communication. Actually, this is so just a quick story. This is actually a thing that happened to me this week. I was in a Teams meeting with some advertising partners, and I needed to send a JPEG, and I could not find the button. And it was just this like aging moment for me. Like, where's the paperclip? Shouldn't there be a paperclip here? We just need to get back to the good old days when there were paper clips that said that that's where you put the attachment, right? It was a really
And then you were like, oh, I could just drag and drop.
It wouldn't let me. I really could not figure out why Teams will not let me send this attachment. And so, I'm getting old. Okay. That is the moral of this story. So forgive me and my archaic terminology. Anyway, you are in Seattle. So
yes.
This is kind of home base for us. How are you feeling about SIFF coming up?
This is home base. I'm excited to be able to attend it for the first time in person as accredited press. It's been a long journey through COVID and doing all the things we've been doing at TIFF and VIFF these last few years before SIFF is reopened. So it's nice to be able to go to our back yard and do this instead of kind of traveling across country lines and state lines virtually to do this, but I'm excited to go experience some of the more interesting foreign films that they have, and then a few of these American language films that I'm actually very excited to see.
Yeah, I think SIFF they've always had a very, and not, I mean, all the film festivals you go to have very diverse sets of films and types of movies, but I do notice a very big focus on international film and foreign language film at SIFF, and I really appreciate that and love that we're bringing films from all over the world here to Seattle, where we can see them on the big screen. So that's
or at home streaming
because they are doing a hybrid festival, I guess. So they're focused on pulling off the in-person film festival again, but there is an online edition as well. Most is geolocked to the United States, to Washington. Do you know where it's
some are geolocked to Washington? I think most are just geolocked to the United States, but I think something like over 70% of the titles are available online, so there's a large selection compared to previous years,
which is awesome. We've talked about this before, how we love that film festivals are embracing the online version of their festival, as we still get back to doing in person. So we continue hoping that continues to be the case, and keep access to film festivals as
I mean, the number one thing for these independent films is accessibility. So if you can make it so that someone that's living, I don't know, out in the boonies that needs satellite internet sandwiched between Bellingham and Cedar Woolley can stream something.
Wonder who you could be talking about.
I don't know. They're not in this call.
Are you sure about that? That's funny. Well, the Seattle National Film Festival goes from April 14th to the 24th, and they have tons of movies to choose from. As we were saying,
opening night film is Navalny. It played at Sundance as a special feature, and the closing night film is Call Jane, which I think also played at Sundance.
It did.
So those are the opening and closers.
And this is what I've always said about Seattle Film Festival before I became accredited and was participating with all these film festivals. It was always really nice that the Seattle Film Festival was able to bring these Sundance, South by Southwest, best Toronto Film Festival films to Seattle back when virtual film festivals weren't really a thing, right? So, I've always appreciated SIFF for happening in April, or I guess back then it was May, and June, but in the springtime, in time to get these big releases that were debuting at Sundance and South by and TIFF, so that locals here could then have access to them before they would sooner than they reach the mainstream.
Absolutely. I mean, next year, anything that played at TIFF that people didn't fly up to Toronto to see, this will probably be their first chance to see it, unless it plays at a film festival beforehand. So yeah, if they can continue to offer that hybrid feature as well, it's going to really change the game for accessibility and people being able to see these films that they wouldn't otherwise have an opportunity to see.
Absolutely. So, well, let's jump into some conversation about SIFF selections. We're going to start with recommendations. So, as I mentioned, we have seen a number of these films that SIFF is bringing to the Seattle area, and we're excited to share a few recommendations and things that we have seen already that we think will be good to add to your to watch list. So, Taylor, I'm going to let you start with the first one. What is your first recommendation?
Let's talk about a movie we've never talked about,
of course,
privately or publicly. Let's talk about Cooper Raif's Cha Cha Real Smooth.
Shocking. Who would have thought that we would talk about Cha Cha Real Smooth?
We only recommended it at Sundance, at South by Southwest, and every breath in between since then. It's a fantastic display of a writer, director, and actor. He gets the best performance out of Dakota Johnson in recent memory, probably since Suspiria. It's just a real treat. It's a positive experience of watching it, but it has deep wells of emotionality. It is not a cookie cutter film in any way, and the emotional resonance that is achieved by the end is very earned and very sincere. It was acquired by Apple TV Plus, who just won Oscar for the last film they acquired from Sundance, Coda.
Not just an Oscar, but that won Best Picture. So.
Yes, so it's got a big legacy to hold up to, but I think Cha Cha Real Smooth is certainly a good fit for Apple TV Plus, and if you liked Coda, you'll probably respond well to this film.
Yeah, I think you're right, that endearing nature to it. I mean, it's
just charming. It's just charming.
So charming. And the more I think about it, the better it ages in my mind. Like, it's one of those films where it's fun to watch, but then you kind of think on it and you sit on it, and it just gets better and better. And it's like, at least in my mind, and I can't wait for the opportunity to see it again. I wasn't able to see it at South by, but I can't stop recommending it. And for those in Seattle, this is your chance to catch a really good movie before it hits the mainstream.
Yeah, it kind of almost feels like an instant classic, which we haven't had in a long time.
Oh yeah.
But something like Forrest Gump, where it's just like, yeah, I could watch that again.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Cha Cha Real Smooth is like, yeah, I could watch that again. Sure, why not? Like, it doesn't seem like something that's going to lose anything in rewatch over time. So yeah, I highly recommend it. How about you? What's your first recommendation?
Well, I'm trying to pull it up, but that internet you were talking about is going super slow for me right now. My first recommendation is going to be another Sundance film that we both watched and enjoyed. I think you enjoyed a little bit more than I did, but I still am willing to recommend. And that is
this Rebecca Hall's Resurrection?
Is it Rebecca Hall's Resurrection? It definitely is Rebecca Hall in Resurrection. I think that Resurrection, it's directed by Andrew Simmons. Is that how you pronounce his last name? But this movie got so much buzz at Sundance because of how, I don't know, is visceral the right word? Like, there's such a like under
the closing 20 minutes is a pure what the fuck,
so, and that's one thing that how do I put this? Like, I appreciated the closing 20 minutes, but for me, the highlight of the film was that monologue. There's like, I don't know how long it is, but there's this extensive one cut monologue that Rebecca Hall gives midway through the film, and it is just arresting. Like, it's so fascinating how attentive you can be on. It's literally one shot and just Rebecca Hall talking. It's almost a monotonous kind of speech, but it doesn't cut. It's that one shot, and it's so engaging. I think after she was done, when it finally cut back to who she's talking to, I then breathed. I was like, oh yeah, I stopped breathing for that, because that was just so yeah, so yeah, really, really good. So, but yeah, it also it ends on a very like bizarre note, but I think that that's what makes it so such a awesome cinematic experience for me, is the questions that it generates. It's one of those things where you're trying to figure out like what's real and what isn't, like what's imagined, what is actually happening here. Are they literally talking about that, or is it figuratively? Like, what's going on here? So
And then they're showing it visually, physically. So I guess it's not figuratively.
right,
Or
right.
yeah.
It's a wild experience, but definitely kind of that under the skin kind of suspense, and simmering kind of suspense. I love the experience.
If you like great performances by female actresses, this is one to definitely watch.
Absolutely, especially, and I mean, this got a lot of buzz because I mean, The Night House had just released in theaters, and that was also a really big one to see her in. And so yeah, I don't know, just I think that she's on a hot streak right now, and I love it.
She's been good for a long time.
Yeah.
Vicky Cristina Barcelona, Christine back in I think 2016. She's a phenomenal performer.
Yeah, and it's definitely on display here. It's wonderful. So that's my recommendation for this one is Resurrection.
My next recommendation is a film that played at TIFF last year called AHED'S Knee from Nadav Lapid. It is not a film, much like Resurrection, that I responded all that positively to, but it is undoubtedly a work of singular vision, and it is sincere and creative and kind of flummoxing, and it's one of those sticky movies that even if you don't like it, you just kind of never forget the sense of how you felt watching it. And I think that that's always the sign of art worth engaging with, whether or not you like it. If something sticks with you and you can't quite shake it, and it's not that you hated it viscerally, it's just that it was complex and had different stylistic tendencies than you would normally see formally, and kind of a counter climax that is performative. It's got all these weird little things going for it. And I think it's fantastic that you can go see it in the theater here in Seattle.
You know, I've seen this one pop up at film festivals, and I've kind of glossed over it. Unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to see it yet, and so it's nice that it's coming up on your recommendations list. So maybe I'll be able to make the time for it this time.
I would recommend engaging with it because I suspect you won't like it, but I think that the reason why you don't like it would be very fun for you to find out. I think you'd have a lot to say.
That's intriguing. Oh man, well, I guess I have to see it.
How about you? What's your next recommendation?
So my next recommendation is going to be one that I can't talk a whole lot about, but I have had a chance to screen it early. It's the world premiere of the film I'll Show You Mine, directed by Megan Griffiths. It's a very small cast and a very limited setting kind of film, but essentially it's about this writer who is interviewing her nephew about his pansexual lifestyle and alter ego that he got famous for, and has since I guess not been what's the word I'm looking for? There's a word. Anyway, he had an alter ego that he got famous for and has fallen from that fame since then. And this is kind of both of their ways to kind of recapture her as a beloved author. This is her way to kind of get back into that spotlight, and him as a way to kind of get him back into into a spotlight as well. I like this one because I am a fan of movies that have, you know, two people having a conversation. To me, this actually reminds me very much of a film that I covered at South by Southwest last year called See You Then, which was also a two-person conversation, limited setting where they're just talking about each other's lives. And essentially it builds to some big revelations and some uncovering of secrets. And I I can't say too much again about it because this is the world premiere. But I do think that it was definitely in line with what I like out of these kind of films, enough for me to make it a recommendation for you at the festival.
All right. My final recommendation is the New York Asian Film Festival selection from last summer, Barbarian Invasion from Tan Chi Mui. She stars, writes, and directs in this film. It is the story of a woman trying to reclaim her acting career. So it is a little bit metatextual, and she needs to be able to perform these martial arts stunt work. And so half the film is her kind of learning at a dojo how to do these moves and playing like a behind the scenes type of a drama. And then there's a turning point in the film where a major event happens that involves her son, and it turns into an actual action movie at that point, where she has to go attack and kill people. And it just balances that line of loving the craft of filmmaking and also being referential to filmmaking in a way that was really fun for me. And it's also very unique to see a female writer, director, performer who's doing all her own stunts, that's creating an action film filled with action choreography that's up there with, you know, things like Shang-Chi as far as what they're doing physically. So I highly recommend this. It was one of my favorite films that I watched all of last summer, and the idea that you can go watch this in a theater here in Seattle, it just makes me a very happy person.
This is fascinating because this movie was on my my short list of things that I wanted to watch. But I watched the trailer because the premise it sounds great. Like, I love the premise, but I watched the trailer and was entirely underwhelmed by that. So I'm happy to have your ringing endorsement of it because I think it sounds like a really great premise. But yeah, that trailer didn't do it any service.
I haven't seen the trailer. I watched it before they had proper marketing materials,
right.
We'll say.
Right. And I guess proper, depending on how you define proper, maybe they still don't have proper marketing materials. But yeah, it does sound, it really piqued my interest when I read the description. But it was on my, I have to see if I can make it to the screening. I'm not sure if I can, but it definitely piqued my interest. And so I'm glad to.
It's worth rearranging and prioritizing for. It's I don't think that you'll get another chance to see it in the theater. And that's a good point. It's a singular type of a work where you just probably won't come across another thing like this for another decade, where it's a female writer, director, performer who's doing the stunt choreography herself. Like, you know, it's basically like if Jackie Chan also wrote and directed. Like, that's a tall order.
That is a tall order. That's very true. All right, my last recommendation is something that I saw. Was it Tribeca? Actually, I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was Tribeca. I saw it last year, and I was a big fan.
Tribeca.
Tribeca, cool. I was a big fan of the names of the leading cast, and so I checked it out back then, and was a fan of it. So this film is The Justice of Bunny King. It is directed by Gaysorn Thabit, who you had the chance to interview, and
I did.
Like you had a great conversation.
We did. She learned me up on the proper way of talking about rubbish bins instead of trash cans, and there was a windscreens instead of windshields. You know, she really educated me.
That's awesome. I love interviews
on the New Zealand dialect.
Yes, interviews are best when you're kind of like in that really casual space. Like that's something that I'm trying to get better at with interviews. Is like, yeah, I have my questions and things that I want to address, but like let's actually just like have a conversation. Like let's just have fun with this. So cool. That's that's on drinkingthemovies.com. You can go check that out there. But anyway, this is a movie that again caught my attention because of the cast. It stars Essie Davis. Did I interviewed her? Did you interview Essie as well? Yep.
So yeah, I've got a podcast episode with both interviews on it.
Yeah,
if people want to check it out.
So your content does online. Mine actually is not. I have not published, as of the recording of this, I have not published my interview with Essie yet. So I'm looking forward to putting. Yes, I'm looking forward to putting that out during SIFF, and that's some kind of exclusive content that I recorded and I'm ready to get published. So, but Essie Davis, who we know from The Babadook, which also played at SIFF. Actually, that's where I saw that.
I haven't seen it.
Oh no, you have not seen The Babadook?
I haven't seen The Babadook, but I've seen a lot of her work since then.
Okay, fair enough. But The Babadook is really, really good. And Thomasin McKenzie, before we got to see her in Last Night in Soho. So it was fun seeing her in this role and then watching her go on to
very limited supporting role. Very limited.
Yes. But
if you watch this movie, don't expect more than 5 minutes of her.
she's there, right? But yeah, I love seeing her in these like smaller films and also kind of seeing how her career is growing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it's a story about this mother who's really in a not great place in her life, but she's trying to get things together so that she can maintain a relationship with her daughter, who's Thomasin McKenzie, and it's just
Thomasin is her niece.
Sorry, not daughter, niece. You're right. But it shows the links that she's willing to go through to try to make things work in her favor, but the system is against her, and there's a whole lot of factors about life that are against her, and it's just she has a really hard time getting ahead and she takes some extreme measures. Yeah, I love Essie Davis as an actress. I mean, I loved her in The Babadook. I also watched what's the baby one? There's another one that she's in that I really liked. So she puts on really, really good performances, really compelling performances, and that is definitely the case here as well. This is a really
disappears.
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely.
She's not the actress Essie Davis. She is whatever the character is.
Exactly. And that's what you want out of especially a movie this emotionally compelling, right? Like when you get to the end and you realize what's going on and where this is leading, like she is so invested in this character. It's wonderful. But also just a heart-wrenching story. So that's my third recommendation, is The Justice of Bunny King.
It's very good. I also recommend it. She was in Nitram, which just came out as well. So if people liked Bunny King, they can return to Nitram, which was directed by her husband, and she co-stars.
Oh, that's right. I think that one premiered overseas. Was it Cannes?
Cannes, yeah, last year.
Nice. All right, those are our recommendations. Let's talk about what we're looking forward to seeing brand new that we have not seen
for the first time.
I
will storm over you, and I will say that the thing I'm most anticipating is In Front of Your Face from Hong Sang-soo. He puts out a movie a year. My co-host and friend Michael Clausen, it's one of his favorite living filmmakers. It's his Steven Soderbergh, as he puts it to me. As a Steven Soderbergh fan myself, I can appreciate having a singular director who puts out a movie every single year that you're always excited to watch. And In Front of Your Face has 2 theatrical screenings at the festival, and I am just thrilled that we get to watch it in a big theater, because the last few years his films have been going kind of to VOD, so it's going to be nice to see it on a big old curtain.
Yeah, I am so sad. I probably will not be able to make it to that screening.
Well, you better change that attitude.
I know. So I'm just a little bit too far from Seattle to make it down every day. But yeah, that sounds like a really good one. It wasn't on my radar until you mentioned it, and so hopefully there is an opportunity for me to watch it at some point. So I guess let me see. I was just gonna riff off of yours because I think we have a lot of very similar
I can continue if you'd like. The next one I think is one that you are also anticipating from Dean Fleischer Camp. It's Marcel the Shell with Shoes On.
Yeah.
It's got Jenny Slate as the voice actress of Marcel, from what I understand. It looks like a stop motion type of an animation film. I think it's got a very short runtime, like in the 80-minute range. And it's coming out properly, I think, in June. They announced.
Yeah, June. I just watched the trailer for it at when I went to see Everything Everywhere All at Once,
which you famously did not like.
Who, me? No. Let's not get it twisted. Everything Everywhere All at Once is I won't say, I'm not going to trigger you, but it's wonderful.
Thomas was about to say it's a masterpiece.
I was about to say, and I probably will stick to that opinion. I think it is a phenomenal piece of filmmaking, and I don't think I'm going to see anything better than that this year. So if I see a movie better than Everything Everywhere All at Once, then we can just stop making movies this year. I'll be good. That'll round out my top 5, and that's all that I need.
You heard it here first. Thomas is against filmmaking.
Oh my goodness. How dare you twist my words?
Stop making films. That's what he said.
Save your great movies to next year so that they can have a proper place on my list. Okay. That's what I'm saying. But anyway, Marcel, I don't know a whole lot about this. I guess it's based on what, a YouTube series or something? Like it's based on some, like,
I know that there was a short, but I'm not too familiar with it.
I'm not either. So I'm kind of going into this one blind, except for the trailer that I watched. And the trailer was just a whole bunch of, it's just like hearts exuding out of me. Like, oh my gosh, this is so feel good. Just the trailers feel good. So I am excited for all of those positive vibes and those feel good vibes with this one. And
I think it's a feature directorial debut from Dean as well. So
that's possible. And what'll be really interesting is seeing this one. It's a double feature with another one that you're going to mention on this list. And I think that double feature is going to be very nice back-to-back kind of pairing.
I didn't realize that it was double feature.
I mean, I say double feature as in they're playing one after the other. It's not like an actual double feature, but we're going out of one and into the next one. Yeah.
Okay. I don't think it's this next film from Peter Strickland, Flux Gourmet. That
would be a terrible double feature.
That is also playing only in theaters at the festival. I think it's got 2 different screenings. One on a Tuesday night and one on a weekend, but this is Peter Strickland's follow-up to Good Hair, Bad Hair, something like that, I want to say. In Fabric is what the follow-up is. Which and also, I think it has Gwendolyn Christie as at least a co-star, if not the star of the film.
This is another one that was not on my radar until you mentioned it. I did actually see In Fabric at SIFF with Michael, in fact. So that was a fun time. And In Fabric was one that I had to sit on. During the experience, I wasn't sure what to make of it, but afterward I was like, actually, that was a pretty damn good movie, right? And so it aged well for me. And I'm much more, I think since then I've become a lot more open-minded to these more offbeat kind of films. And so I'm interested in that. I'm actually
psychological surrealism, almost
psychological surrealism, absolutely. In fact, In Fabric I kind of wish would have had a third act. That would have been really cool.
You've said this a lot.
Yes.
That's an opinion you've had for a while.
I have. But it's great as it is. And so I'm looking forward to Flux Gourmet and seeing how this turns out and being open-minded to the psychological surrealism, if that's what the case is here. Whatever it is, I'm looking forward to feasting.
Yeah, he directed one of my favorite films of I think it was 2012, Barbarian Sound Studio, which is just a phenomenal and weird film built around a sound event. So that's Flux Gourmet, only in theaters My next title that I'm most anticipating is Masaki Yuasa's INU-OH.
Yeah.
This is the director of Night is Short, Walk On Girl, and tons of other stuff. He's done anthology films and some television shows and tons of features. And this is just his latest one. And I'm tickled that we get to see this on the big screen.
So this is the one we're double featuring. So we're going to go out of INU-OH into MARCEL with the shoes on. And I think that's just going to be a very delightful Saturday.
I suspect that INU-OH is going to be a lot more macabre than Marcel Michel with shoes on.
Maybe.
Yes, that's like, going to be a fun animation weekend.
Yes, that's what I'm getting at. So
playing at being 13 and watching cartoons all day.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one as well. I do have my RSVP for both of those, and Flux, I guess, as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to all of that.
Awesome. My final film that I'm anticipating the most, you could say, is Fernando Leon de Arona's The Good Boss. It's a film that stars Javier Bardem, who's collaborated with on a few previous projects, and it's about like a delegation committee coming into the business that Javier runs, and him trying to keep his workers from compromising the desired outcome of this visit from this delegation. It sounds just off enough that there could be a great drama with comedic elements here. And when Javier Bardem is on, he is on, and he's had I think 2 really, really well-received films with this director. So I'm hoping that maybe we get a third.
I'm going to be optimistic about this one. Hopefully. This is another one that wasn't on my radar until you mentioned it. But it is available on streaming during the festival. So
yep, this is the only film on my list that you can stream.
I mean, I love having access to films on streaming, but a lot of the more prestigious films don't get streaming, and so that that's an unfortunate indicator of where the quality is streaming. But I'm really hoping that this is a good one that will be accessible online. So yeah.
And there's a lot more films that are on my radar, that especially the foreign language films that have some great buzz around them that are streaming.
Yeah, tons of interesting foreign language films that I'm making a list of what I want to see that are streaming, and so it'll be a really good streaming program. But yeah, so we'll see how this one turns out, right?
Yeah. Is there any other films that you wanted to bring up for anticipation, or any honorable mentions?
I'm just going to run through some quick honorable mentions, just because I'm anticipating putting on extra coverage for these during the festival. There's a short film that I had the chance to cover ahead of the festival called El Carrito, written and directed by Zaida Pirani, and it's I had the chance to interview her, and that interview is currently online right now. The short film is a part of the international relations shorts program, and I'm pretty sure it's screening on Sunday in person and also online. So I connected with this film enough to request an interview with the director, and we had a great conversation. And so I learned a lot about the street vending scene in New York, and really about that community. And I think this movie does, or this short film does, give a lot of exposure to what that looks like beyond that transaction that we do as just casual pedestrians. There's a lot that goes into that world, and I think she puts a lot of that into this film. And so there's that one, El Carrito. Again, you can find a review from our writer Marty, and an interview with me and Zaida on thisisforreal.com. The other one that I'm going to honorably mention really quick is one of my favorite films out of South by Southwest, which is Linoleum. Directed
You
by.
didn't say Cha-Cha real smooth.
I know, right? We talked about that one. I could go on for days. This podcast would be hours long if we were actually like diving more into Cha Cha Real Smooth.
Dedicated Cha-Cha coverage.
I know, right?
24/7.
But Linoleum, directed by Colin West, was just this massive surprise for me at South by. And I think actually you recommended it to me, and I'm really happy that you did.
I was convinced that you would like it because it has one of the strongest finales I've seen at a film festival.
Endings make a movie, right? An ending
for
can make,
Thomas.
For me, no, for everyone. Actually, like they make or
incorrect.
Break they make or break a movie for me, right? If you have a mediocre film and a great ending, I will sing praises about that film. Fortunately, I actually thought that Linoleum is good throughout with a really great high points emotionally at the end. And I also liked a lot of the emotional.
One of the best ending edited sequences just in recent memory. Whether you respond to it well or whatever, like the editing is superb.
Fantastic. So I definitely want to recommend that one really quick, and I'm hoping to get an interview in with Colin while he's in town, so trying to make that happen. And then the last honorable mention I want to make is for a film called Midday Black, Midnight Blue. This one stands out to me because it was filmed on Whidbey Island, my home place. I was born in Oak Harbor, Washington, which is on Whidbey Island. I frequent there a lot, so I'm very, very familiar with the island, and it's always nice to see a local setting appear in film. Midday Black, Midnight Blue is this is the world premiere, if I'm not mistaken, for that film, and
I believe so. I think it's a hybrid film playing online and at the fest in theaters.
Yes, it is. And yeah, so you can catch it online. You know, we're kind of talking about online programming. I think this is one that would be interesting to check out online. It's from directors. I was looking up the director's name. Sorry, it was Samantha Soul and Daniel Talbot. So
I think it's a directorial debut for both of them,
if I'm not mistaken. I think so as well. So it's super cool, and we've talked a lot before about how much we like our 90-minute runtimes. This one clocks in at 88 minutes, but yeah, it seems interesting, and I'm looking forward to supporting a film that was filmed on Whidbey Island.
Yes, I'm pretty sure that there was a Merritt Weaver in it as well, who's just a fantastic actress. And I don't know if she actually plays a significant role or not, but that her being in the movie is what drew me to it to begin with.
What, not Whidbey Island? That was your big selling point?
There's very few locations in Washington State that I would care to watch in a film. Merritt Weaver, I'll go out of my way for that.
That's fair. That's fair. Any last titles that you want to mention before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I mean, there's tons and tons and tons, but you know, we got to the key highlights. Obviously, on the other side of the festival, we'll have I'm sure a totally different list of the films that people should be seeking moving forward. Just thrilled to be able to go see Barbarian Invasion in a theater in the United States of America. That's a pretty cool thing,
right? I'm I mean I wanted to give a shout out again to SIFF for such great programming. I mean, the programming is so awesome that we're missing a bunch of really big titles. Petite Maman is screening, and we loved that one when we saw it at
that comes out in the end of this month, I think. I think it comes out when The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent comes out.
Right. So, you know, that's one that we kind of had to gloss over. And there's other ones like, I mean, The Hill Where Lionesses Roar. I wasn't the biggest one on that, but that's kind of a big title making the rounds at film festivals. Yeah, so there's a lot of really great movies coming out. The Duke, we haven't talked about The Duke. And so programming is fantastic at SIFF. So there's a lot of movies to put on your to watch list. And
if we pulled up our calendars, there's an endless list of things that we're planning to watch.
Yes. So
alas,
but we will see how many we get around to, and we will do this again at the end of the festival to check in on how everything went. Until then, Taylor, where can people find you and your content?
As always, it's drinkingthemovies.com.
Very cool. And and you can find my content at thisisforreal.com. Of course, for real spelled FORREEL. You can also find us on social media, and I'll just put links in the this description. I think that's just easier. We're going through
And
a
people
little.
can always just go to your website and find all the links to all the places that they want to follow you.
That is entirely true. I usually like having everything like consistent, but like I'm going through some online presence changes, and so just kind of sprucing up the online presence. But yeah, I'm excited to be putting out more content at a film festival, and it's going to be a good time. It'll be nice to hang out and get to do this film festival thing again in Seattle.
Absolutely.
So very cool. Well, we're going to get into that down in Seattle. But until the next time we hop onto one of these calls, thank you everyone for watching, and keep it for real.